Hi, loves. I think it's session 21. This one's going to be kind of a private one. I'm coming to you from my bed and not the one out on the porch. It's too hot today. I have shingles, of all things. At least that's what we think it is. It's the non-blistering kind, the internal kind. And it's been coming on. And so I just want to lay out some mythology because there's a lot going on right now, and this was also going to be part of Jojima's Summer of Love to, sort of give a different lens on what's happening in the geopolitical, climate, economic, education landscape. Like our construct landscape is shifting really profoundly right now. The underpinnings of certainty are getting really shaky. And it's the people that see into the collapse can fill in more detail about how that's happening across the planet. I read it. I read sort of a different edge to that quantum awareness, if you will. The edge that I tend in my holy stewardship of this knowingness is the edge of potentiality, this leverage point. So when I was doing all the work with businesses for 30 years, I used to run business roundtables, and we were always looking at this equation of people times process, that a business is just a bunch of people performing a bunch of activities, and depending on the quality of inputs to those activities and people, and it determines your output. So if you're having a lousy output, now that could be profit, could be quality, could be return on investment. There are basically four bottom lines in business. And depending upon where those levers of shift are in the business, is it a people issue? Is it a process issue? You begin to play with the acumen mechanics of the business. And so that's the level I see things at. When you understand the whole contextual landscape of where we exist, then you begin to pay attention to certain patterns, certain tends, places where people are tending a movement, and you start to really get a sense of the quantum mechanics that we're all quantum engineering with our very thought processes, our link to our imagination shifts from a child's folly, judgmental lens to an understanding that our imaginations are divine tools of access. That the more we can step into our imagination without the cynicism, the skepticism, the pessimism, the existential despair isms, clearing those elements away creates this blank slate imagination place where moving into the unknown is exciting and fun rather than something to be afraid of. Like moving from an instinctual human species to an intuitive human species is this juxtaposition we're in right now, this dimensional split. And so the fight or flight response or the Frankel pause response, somewhere between those two worlds, the negative bias downward, the positive bias outward, referring to Dr. Hawkins' map, we're just at this tipping point, this amazing, magical tipping point of trust. Trust for the human experience. And this bridge that we've got to get over is this courage to trust ourselves, our own magic. And so this weekend, we did the movie Lottery of Birth at the house here, and we had nice mix of elders and youth, several who had been through the elder youth Joji I did a few weeks ago. So they were really primed for this conversation. The Joji experiment expanded into an experience, an all-day conversation about the human condition. And the movie reinforced those themes. And if you haven't watched it, I highly recommend it. Lottery of Birth, Creating Freedom. And it's on Apple TV and Prime, and it's no charge. So you're already paying for it. Watch it with your family. Watch it with your friends. Because we have imagined ourselves down into some very deep, dark quarters. And I'm not even going to be a spoiler here, beyond saying there's a part of that film that you will be shocked by the depravity of our connection. See, depravity is a judgmental word. I just caught myself. Language matters. It so profoundly matters. The only way we get out of this, where it's a win-win for everyone, is if we own it. There's a matrix out of fear into love, that a new prism on unconsciousness, boundaries, projections, like the language of psychology that we're, evolutionary psychology that we're stepping into, demands different language. For us to create a new construct together, we have to hold ourselves accountable to language. So there is no depravity in what you're going to witness in that movie. There is just massive amounts of unconsciousness and surrender to external authority rather than claiming our internal authority. And so right now, the big shift I'm seeing in the landscape of geopolitical stuff is this in-your-face authoritarianism, so profoundly, clearly mapping itself into our awareness that our own biology, our nervous systems are going to hit a breaking point. Like there is a tension of no more that's rising in us. And I think that's why my nervous system is having such a big reaction right now. Like, I think I'm biologically feeling what I'm seeing. I think it's always been that way. I'm just becoming aware. So then, all right, so to be continued, I want to talk about imagination and manifestation and how we discount our imagination and the 2 years to be continued.